Hello my fellow degenerates, my name is Billy and welcome to the AVN channel's review of Desert Stalker. Desert Stalker is a sandbox post-apocalyptic adult visual novel developed by Zetan, available on both Patreon and itch. The game has heavy influences from games such as Fallout and the Stalker series. Now, when I started this game I knew a lot of people were singing its praises, however I do have to say there are some rather questionable things in the game, so without further ado, let's check out Desert Stalker. Desert Stalker takes place approximately 400 years after the fall of civilization. It's based in a post-apocalyptic Egypt that has almost reverted to its ancient Egyptian roots. There are remains of some cities such as Cairo, but these are merely ruins and civilization is rebuilding in cities reminiscent of Egypt's ancient past. Why the world ended in the first place we're not fully sure of, but we are now more interested in survival and getting laid. And believe me, we do a lot of the latter. We play as a stalker, someone whose job it is to travel into places called zones and search for ancient artifacts, as well as running dangerous missions, usually for the Queen or just for who pays the most. Rather than a main single overarching story, at this point the game is built up of several quests, some mains and some sides. The side quests usually involve a single girl and bringing them into your harem, whereas the main quests usually involve one or more of the main factions and progresses a main plotline. By the looks of things, the main quest may combine into a single one later in the game and the players may have to pick which factions to side with, but we'll have to wait and see in future updates. Each quest is interesting, some more than others, and you have a mystery plot trying to uncover the truth of the world with the zombie-like faction The Decayed. Then there's a fight for freedom and equality with the mutant faction, and the Raiders and Zeta City factions are vying for control of the land. Zeta through politics and the Raiders through brutality. Due to the nature of the questing system, the pacing can be kind of chaotic. One minute you're diving into the city depth amongst an army of man-eating cannibals, and then you're having a nice warm bath in the Queen's Queen's Bath. Then you'll be slaughtering a settlement with raiders just for the next day to go to your sister-in-law's house for some dinner. At one point you actually take the perspective of your eldest daughter Shani as she ventures into one of the zones, a place that has been changed and manifests some weird happenings. You have the ability to switch back to the MC and continue his story for a bit, but the zone was so goddamn awesome I just ignored the MC while Shani was there, which is actually surprising for me as I usually don't like the perspective switching in games like this. However, there are more interactions that happen with the MC whilst Shani is away, and if you actually finish your quest in the zone before starting these actions, you end up just missing them. But I like this though, it's a player's choice who they control at this point, so it wasn't until my second run that I actually saw some of them, and this game is definitely worth a couple of playthroughs to fully explore the world. It's interesting and I actually took the time to read some of the notes and a bit of the lore that the game gave me. I just want to know more though. Why is the world ended? What are these holy storms? Why did the zone exists? I need more zones. The zone gameplay was king awesome. The characters in Desert Stalker are interesting to say the least. Honestly, for the most part they're good characters, they just lack real flaws, and the flaws they do have end up being painted in a positive light. They are flaws that end up becoming a sexual interest because YouTube will rail me if I use the F word. You want bright girls? We got you. You like it hardcore? We got you. You just want a loving, caring woman? We got you. You like a bit of that family dynamic? We got you, and then some, brother. Oh, you want a character with some emotional depth and personal growth? Nah, sorry, we're all out of stock on that though. We play as a stalker, and by my calculations he's in at least his 50s, but still looks pretty damn good. He's a badass as with all stalkers, however he's been doing this job for years, so his power's actually earned. It's not like he's a natural, he's been down a long hard road for him. Crazy! So it's believable that he can kick a few raiders' asses and beat a couple of zombies with little issue. He behaves as the play dictates, he can be kind and caring or a brutal savage. I tended to be more towards a kind side unless I was dealing with one of the savage-like factions, like the Decayed or the Raiders. The main issue I have with our lovely MC is that every woman in his life just bends to his whim. He isn't just a ladies man, they goddamn worship him, and I feel it makes it just too easy for him sometimes. There's no cat and mouse. If he wants something he takes it and they're all willing just to give it. It feels like I'm playing an adult visual novel of Preacher sometimes.
Holster your guns.
The hell did you just say?
Shut your mouth. Step over there.
Zara is your wife. Yeah. You have a wife and she's down for you to F everything in sight. In fact, she actually encourages it, but since the MC's job requires him to go away for so long, she basically runs a household in his absence. She's strong-willed and a true matriarch of the family. But as soon as the MC returns home, she steps back in line. Yeah, sometimes she'll disagree with him or request that he does something, but she does it in such a submissive manner. Christ alive, woman, you run this place 90% of the time. Grow a damn backbone and tell the MC this is your show. But she won't, because she loves him too much and he's so great and she just wants to wait on him on hand and foot. Shana's your first she's your first stepdaughter. Yeah, stepdaughter. She's also your trainee, as you've been training her to become a stalker as well. Her personality mostly depends on how you respond in the game, as both the MC and when you take control of Shana. I tried to play her the opposite of the MC, so he was being kind, and I wanted to make her a bit more brutal. Her and the MC haven't really been involved much thus far until the latest updates, because it's unethical to be involved with your trainee, but there's no issue with you being with your stepdaughter. No, that's fine. But despite being a new recruit to the Stalker, she does seem to be a little too good at her job, which becomes evident if you follow her perspective. Ain is your daughter, at least that's how I think you pronounce it. What is it with the names in these games and making me struggle to pronounce them? And sometimes she does look a lot younger, and it can be very awkward as some of the scenes are not optional, but she's basically just an object of free use. Her entire role is just to keep the MC happy and serve the guests in more ways than one. But don't worry, sharing is optional, so you can turn all that off and she just keeps it in the family then. There is this scene where she does say that she wants to be more than what she is, more than this entertainer, and she's envious of her sister who's got these dreams and aspirations, but beyond that it never really goes anywhere. I hope in future updates it does look into this, because it could have had a lot more interest to her character. Emilia is a slave gifted to you from the Queen. Her job is to serve the household in a maid's capacity, but yet also sex. Despite being forced into servitude, she enjoys it, but to be fair, being a slave is all she's ever known, and the MC provides her with food, comfort and warmth. Hell, he even gives her her own bedroom, which is much more than any other previous owners have given her. So as far as slave masters go, he's not the worst, but she's still a slave. Rabia and Nadia. Rabia is your sister-in-law and also your ex before you met her sister and started railing her instead. She's now married to a boring and has become very reserved, but after reconnecting with the MC and her sister, she is returning to her old self. Nadia, on the other hand, is quite the opposite. Rabia's daughter and the MC's niece, so yeah, you can see where this one's going. She's actually very similar to your stepdaughter Ain, but she's just a little bit more confident. Katerina is your friend Igor's daughter. She becomes to Zetan to visit her uncle, but after meeting the MC, she basically develops an obsession for him and wants to join his harem. She's sweet and innocent, and she really for some reason wants to have babies. Yes, I think pregnancy content may be coming in the future. Barry. Barry is another slave you receive from your friends over at the DK Depot. However, she's a little bit different from Emilia. Rather than being your functional member of the household, she is broken. Barely any semblance of humanity when you first meet her. Literally, just a doll for use. You can either help her and bring her back to normality, or just push her deeper and turn her into an animalistic pet with just one purpose, which your wife really loves, by the way. Kira and Ash are a part of a raider gang. Kira is a leader and a sadist. Despite being a brutal psychopath, she's actually got her head screwed on. She's leading the gang and it's actually going pretty successful for her. Her sister, however, is a bit more of a masochist. Despite being brutal and a savage killer who enjoys tearing people apart with metal claws, she's less about thinking and just more or less wants to kill people. But when it comes to the MC, she likes to be on the other side of the claws, let's say. These two together are essentially make a whole. What one lacks, the other makes up for. Ivy is a mutant girl you meet. Now, mutants are not what you think. They're not disgusting, deformed humans. In fact, most of them are actually hot women according to this game. Ivy is an elf. Pointy ears, long lifespan, hot as you know, the stereotypical elf. I can't say much without ruining her story, but she doesn't like to talk much, and she's probably actually the most interesting character out of them all, since she does have an actual backstory that we've heard a bit of so far. Queen Merneith is the young queen, an absolute brat. She seems to abuse her power, and at first I really didn't like her, but as her story progressed, you actually kind of understand her and get to know her, and with that, she actually becomes more human and less royalty. Despite how the characters are, it's irrelevant when it comes to the MC. It doesn't matter how strong and how in control they are. When the MC arrives, they all just back down to him. This easily takes away from the character's strength and independence and just becomes essentially a toy for the MC's entertainment. A leader of the raid gang and her psycho sister allow him to come in and essentially control the gang. The queen of the city backs down when she's put in her place, and despite being slaves, everyone's happy with their role in life. When people are defeated, they just give themselves to the MC willingly. Honestly, really takes away from the believability of the game. Desert Stalker is a sandbox game, meaning that most of the story and the quests can be taken in an order of player preference. The issue I have with this is that sometimes the player may have to wait an in-game day or so for the next part of the quest to become available. However, the time or the day isn't incorporated into the UI, meaning that you don't know if a certain action will take you to the next day, or how many activities can be done before a single day is over, or even when the next part of that quest will become available to you. You also run into the issue that if you prefer one questline over another, then you're most likely going to follow that and exhaust that one first. This means you'll have the least entertaining quest to do towards the end of an update. Now, this is a player caused issue since we choose the order, but it's still something that you may run into. After the sandbox system, there aren't really many more mechanics in the game except for the choice system. Again, this is a major thing in visual novels, and Desert Stalker does not disappoint. Even in the first hour of gameplay, several choices I've made that can significantly impact you on the game, even at the point where one of the choices can entirely remove a major questline. Also has things like how you talk to Shani as the MC affects how she acts when she's alone in the zone, and this is how a choice-based system should work. Not only does it affect the character's interest in the MC, but it does have major implications on the story. And if this level of effects can be kept going until the final update, this game will have some great replayability. Even minor choices are seen to add slight impacts, which are only noticeable if you do separate playthroughs and make these different minor choices. So what are the renders like? These are some of the best I've seen compared to some of the games I've reviewed. They are absolutely gorgeous. The characters look amazing. I can't even recall seeing anywhere where I felt, oh, that's a crappy low quality render. The worst of them are easily on par with most visual novels. The only issue I really had with them is that there are some that are quite dark. Now I understand it's meant to show it's night or in a lower area, but this is an issue that a lot of media falls into. Fair enough, these characters aren't meant to see much because it's dark, but it doesn't make for a great viewing experience for whoever is consuming the media. Does it, Game of Thrones? It's also nice to see the majority of the characters are not white in a VM for one. After all, it is set in Egypt. Now don't get me wrong, I don't know the percentage of the ethnic groups in Egypt, so this game may not be accurate. Maybe there are more black people, maybe there are more brown skinned people like the game has, but either way, it's good to have a change. In fact, white people in this game are usually seen as exotic, which is kind of funny when a girl with red hair and freckles or a blonde haired woman is sought after for being exotic. When I live in Britain, so clearly it's the opposite way around and these tend to be more common. The UI is actually fairly decent as well. The text is clear and easy to read, however there is a text box and it is necessary in this game. I had a lot of moments where I struggled actually reading the text. I had to up the opacity on the text box to make it clearer on the background. The sandbox UI is also okay. I like the background when it comes to the home as it changes depending on who lives in your house. It will show different things happening in your house, and if you go to one scene and then come back to that UI, the scene will change again and show you something else. The actual UI itself is easy enough to use, but it looks like it was designed for a mobile app. On the buttons it shows an exclamation mark to indicate that there's a new event in this area. However, this isn't always accurate. Sometimes it'll indicate that something new, but when you click on the button to move to that scene, it's either nothing or just a repeat of what's already happened last time. Not only that, when the button has no actions left, it tends to be greyed out, but sometimes it's hard to tell it's greyed out on the smaller ones. One final note about these menus, it would be handy to know how many days have passed, or keep track of how many days until another quest becomes available. And talk about quests, that's the next part on the UI list. You click a button in the top left and a book-like menu appears with a list of current quests available. It's simple and it's nothing too special, but I have noticed that once or twice the descriptive text won't match the actual quest. For example, one of the quests discussed a character getting comfortable living in my home, yet I'd only just met this character. Not only that, the quest this description was under was a quest that was actually, I believe, about the palace or something. but had nothing to do with this other character. This other character weren't even part of this quest line. So yeah, sometimes the wrong text is appearing under the wrong quest. Finally, let's discuss the animations. First, a quick note on the lewd animations. They aren't really much special. A lot of the time, they actually just use still images rather than animated sequences, but when we do get them, they're not too bad, but there are just a lot of lewd scenes, so it seems like they've gone for quantity over quality. The safer work scenes though, whew, amazingly done. I love them. Honest to God, they look absolutely fantastic. There's quite a few of them, and they're absolutely brutal and beautiful, honestly. Great quality for the safer work scene. The audio is another great aspect of the game. The music is amazing and it fits the theme really well. Having this Egyptian theme music whilst in the relaxed areas, and a heavier metal theme kind of going on during the action scenes, and even the creepy themes you got going on whilst you're playing as Shiny going through the zone. And the way the music is just used during the animation is fantastic. I don't want to show too many of the animations just to not spoil them all for you, but I'm sorry, I do have to show you this little clip out of this one, because the way the music syncs up with the animations, just yes, it's great. Knowing that you're looking at the zone that you'll eventually need to go into as the storms roll over, and the way the music hits with it, and then just the fear and trepidation in Shiny's eyes. It gives me chills, man. I love it. And I'm sorry if that's a little bit spoilery, to be honest. I couldn't portray how well the music combined with the renders and the sound effects is used without it. And when it's done correctly, it just puts things on a whole other level. Speaking of sound effects, they're good. We do get some from time to time and they are fairly decent. But again, nothing during the lewd scenes. But we do have some ambient noise, the wind blowing in the desert, crowds cheering in from the arena. They all help build up the atmosphere and they sound good. When this game comes to the lewd scenes, there are plenty. Like 50% of the game is just lewd scenes. You walk down the street, lewd. You walk into your house, lewd. You walk into a fight, lewd. You walk into a lewd scene and it becomes even more lewd. It's like Pimp My Ride of lewd. The problem is, there are so many of them that they feel rushed. Most of them end up being still renders with little animation and no character sound effects, and they can be very sharp. However, this isn't my main issue. Despite the game claiming all characters are of age and that everything is consenting, I have to question that. There are several situations in the game where the MC will beat someone in a fight and the character will just willingly give themselves to the MC. Or a character is a slave and it's their job to serve their master. Even though in these situations the game portrays it as they are willing and consenting to it, it feels that they are consenting because they are made to, therefore negating the consent. Now, don't get me wrong, when it comes to a fictional character in games, books, TVs or anything like that, I do not find this kind of stuff offensive. It's not something that gets me going, but it doesn't upset me neither. They're not real characters, and honestly, in this type of world that this is set in, it makes sense that this messed up shit like this would occur. But it's just something I think is worth noting, because I know some people won't like it, and that's fair enough. In regards to age, all characters in this game are of age, but sometimes that doesn't look to be the case. Now this is something that I definitely do not like. Fictional characters are not. This is the kind of stuff I absolutely does not go for me. And whether this is intentional or not, I don't know. But since some of the scenes can't be avoided, it can become really uncomfortable really quick. I mean, sometimes the characters look old enough and that's fine, but then sometimes the characters look questionable. So be wary of that before it going into this game. In regards to flavours, they mostly push towards a hardcore kind of stuff. Even though most of the vanilla scenes teeter on the rough side, there is one girl who you get introduced to that is quite literally a toilet. Yes, and there's also a lot of family related stuff. You have your wife and your two stepdaughters. We all know that it's not intended for them to be stepdaughters. Either way, if you're looking for lewd content, this game hits the mark and then goes beyond. But do not expect high quality animations for most of the scenes, and they're not really too long either. Also, don't be expecting a lovey romantic atmosphere. Romance died when the world did, and the MC treats his girls like the Romans treat Jesus. They nail the shit out of them. Okay, this is yet another difficult one. There are a few candidates again. First of all, your wife, the best damn winged woman in the world, and a woman who keeps your household together. She's at least in the 40s and still looking pretty damn good. I mean, how can you not respect this woman? Then we have Shani, not my daughter, it's the MC's daughter, so I can say whatever I want. But I like the way her relationship is heading. In a game where nearly every relationship is just about that one thing, hers kinda heads in a different path, and surprisingly, even the Queen is up in the running. I didn't really like her at first, a total brat, but when you get to know her, well, you'll start to understand her and she becomes likeable, sort of. But there can only be one, and that girl is Zion. Yeah, not even a main girl, she's a side character in the Raider plot, and doesn't even have any lewd scenes. An absolute psycho, always wears a gas mask and likes to cut her boyfriend's limbs off. So, why Billy, I hear you say? Why is your best girl not even a main character? Why have you chosen a random character? Why? Because she is the only goddamn woman who has the balls to stand up to the MC, that's why. She doesn't just back down to him, she doesn't just instantly show him respect. She hates him and makes sure he knows it, and doesn't understand why her boss is so nice to this guy. I like her because in a world where the women are supposed to be strong and independent, she's actually the only one who is truly strong and independent. And honestly, I really hope that if you do have any interactions with her in the future, she still maintains this character. Hell, I wouldn't mind even if the game gives you the option to pursue her and then just tells the MC to fuck off. At least with this, she isn't just throwing herself at him. So, the real question is, would I recommend this game? Damn straight I would. It's not finished yet, but there's loads of content in it. And I'm excited to see what it holds for the future. I'm hoping for some all-out warfare in the deserts of Egypt. Like all the factions just going at it neck and neck, and we have to choose who we want to be with and who we don't want to, who want to kill it, and yeah, and so on. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. However, just be warned though, some of the loot scenes can be a bit more on the extreme side, and they are very, very family friendly, and regarding the other things I mentioned to be wary of. But yeah, amazing game. Plenty of violence, plenty of loot, plenty of gore.